This is one of the most interesting and enigmatic pieces in the collection. It is a sculpture of the Buddha from the Gandharan period, which is the 3rd to 4th century AD, and it's sculpted in a kind of black rock known as schist. At first glance, this looks like a very typical depiction of the Buddha. He is depicted seated and setting the wheel of Dharma, a Buddhist law, in motion. Around his head is a halo, which represents that he has reached enlightenment. At the sides of the throne on which he is seated, you see 2 small human figures, and they are donor portraits. If you look at the features of the Buddha, you'll find that he's not really looking very Asian. In fact, he looks European. In the same way, if you look closely at how his robes are draped across his body, again, that's not really a very Asian way of draping robes. What the style of this Buddha figure is known as Greco-Roman, and it comes from the classical Greek tradition of carving and of sculpture and of art. Gandhara was a crossroads of civilizations in the true sense of the term. It saw multiple conquerors and civilizations come through it. Alexander the Great came and conquered Gandhara around the 4th century BC. He passed away very quickly. The Maurya dynasty took over, and the Mauryas were an Indian dynasty, and they brought Buddhism into Gandhara. After the Mauryas came a very strange tribe of people called the Bactrians. They had the influence of classical Greece, and they brought this classical Greek influence into Gandhara. After the Bactrians came the Parthians, who basically just adopted the classical Greek tradition. And after the Parthians, finally, came the Kushans, who were Buddhists, but they were able to also assimilate their own Buddhist traditions with the Greek tradition that had been left to them from the Parthians and the Bactrians before them. So, what is significant actually about Buddhist art during this period was that before this period, Buddha was never represented in human form. He was always represented in the form of the Dharma wheel, in the form of a stupa, or the form of his footprint. But influenced by Greek traditions of representative statuary, first the Bactrians and then the Kushans started representing Buddha in human form using the traditions of carving and of craftsmanship that they inherited. So this sculpture resonates with me because the region of Gandhara, which is in Afghanistan and Pakistan today, is still a region very much in turmoil and conflict. And every day there are exquisite pieces of cultural heritage that are either looted or destroyed. Here in faraway Singapore, we must do all we can to protect the world's cultural heritage.